Let's stick a 30-minute timer on this thing and see what happens. I'm just gonna say it, in my opinion, Golf Monthly and My Golf Spy have got this one wrong. I ran a poll on my social media asking whether you would buy a golf watch that you could only update if you connected it to a computer or laptop via USB, which is exactly how you have to update the new Golfbuddy AIM W12 watch. And 71% of you said that you wouldn't buy it, which is interesting given that Golf Monthly have this very watch down for their editor's choice and My Golf Spy have this watch down as their best golf watch for 2023. The W12 does have some impressive features for sure, such as having a full hole layout, a nice colour touchscreen display, as well as a green heat map which shows you the undulations, and that doesn't come at an additional subscription cost. It also has an IPX7 water resistance rating, which means it should be able to withstand being submerged in up to 1 metre of water for 30 minutes. My wife joked with me that that means I don't need to take the watch off to do the dishes. Now, I've not tested that waterproof claim because, to be honest, I'd rather just not do the dishes in the first place. But we could test it right now. Let's stick a 30-minute timer on this thing and see what happens. Just like its predecessor, the W11, the new W12 has some shortcomings that I can definitely forgive it for, but it has one major one that I just can't get past, especially at its price point of £279.99 here in the UK. Credit where it's due, Golfbuddy have made some improvements on areas that I highlighted as a frustration on the previous W11. For example, the watch will now give you a reminder to enter your score once you've finished a hole, and the strap now fits smaller wrists like mine. But the fact that the only way to get the scores off of the watch and to update the firmware of the watch is by connecting it using their USB cradle to a laptop or PC and then having to use their quite clunky program in order to do so is just not acceptable for me in 2023, especially given the price point of this watch. The Garmin S42, the Garmin S12, the Bushnell Iron Elite, the Bushnell Iron Edge, the ShotScope V3 and the ShotScope X5 all have the ability to export your scorecards and potentially update the firmware of the watch as well via Bluetooth using an app on your phone. Some of those even allow you to receive notifications of text messages and phone calls on your watch as well. The currently very wet W12 does have Bluetooth and there is an app to use on your phone, although that app does feel pretty rudimental. It's not the greatest experience using it, and you can only really update the courses on the watch via the app. You can't export your scorecards to it, and you can't update the firmware on the watch. How are we getting on in there, Mr. Watch? We still going? Hello? All right, we're not fishing you out yet. Now, while that matters a lot to me, it might not matter so much to you. So it's still worth covering off the other features of the W12 because it does have a few tricks up its sleeve to set it apart from the very competitive competition. Competitive competition? The fact that this watch comes with the green heat maps is a big plus point and selling point for this watch. Other Garmins that use a similar technology, first of all, are a lot more expensive outright, and on top of that, to even show the green heat mapping feature, you have to pay an annual subscription as well. With the W12, it comes included in the price. Now, I found the feature particularly helpful when I was playing some new courses that I hadn't played before. And while it did work on every course that I tried it at, you've got to bear in mind that it won't necessarily work on every course because it really depends upon whether or not they've got that information for the course that you are playing at. So your mileage may actually vary with this feature. And what I would say is that you don't really want to be relying on it to help you read your putts. Your playing partners and the groups behind are going to get pretty frustrated pretty quickly if you do. But I did find it useful on my approach shots to at least have an understanding of whether or not the green is sloping away from me, to the left, or actually it's sloping towards me. Now, at a 20 handicap, I've not really got the skills to be aiming for the positions that I needed to land it on anyway. Generally, I just aim for the middle of the green and hope for the best. But if you're the type of golfer that wants that information and will find it helpful, then great, it's included in the box. Well, in the glass. If you're the type of golfer that does actually play a lot of new golf courses, well, first of all, lucky you. And second of all, the actual whole layout feature, as well as the touchscreen and the pinpoint abilities of the whole layouts, is going to be a really great feature for you too. The colored screen actually looks pretty good compared to the competition. It's not an AMOLED display, it's a pretty standard touchscreen, but it's quite nice and vibrant and looks pretty decent. The touchscreen works pretty well as well. It's responsive enough. It's not as responsive as a top-end Garmin, but it's certainly more responsive than other watches that I've used in this price bracket. If you swipe across from the whole layout, then you get the yardages to the front, middle, and back of the green, and they can give you slope yardages as well, which you can either choose to have on or off. With the whole layout view, you also have the ability to zoom in or out and move around, so you can kind of get a bit of a closer look at the whole if you want. One thing that you do want to be aware of though is when you use the actual touchscreen to get the yardages to that point, as well as the yardage from that point to the green, you have to be zoomed all the way out on the whole layout map. Now I've got skinny little fingers and I was just about okay selecting the points to get the yardages on the map that I wanted. If you've got larger digits, then you might struggle a little bit to use that feature effectively. If you set your driver distance, it will show you a circumference ring from the T-box out to your driver distance. You get an idea of what you could be bringing into play. And also then you get some rings, I think it's 100, 150 and 200 yards out from the middle of the green, so you can get an idea of where you might need to position yourself for that kind of layup. The whole layout screen is your home screen, and from there you swipe left and right to get to the various different screens. So if you swipe across to the right, then you get the front, middle and back. And if you swipe across again, then you get a list of the hazards as well. And swiping to the left then gives you the shot tracker screen. So you just press the play button and it will start tracking you the distance that you hit your last shot, and then you just stop it when you get to your ball. If you swipe all the way to the end, then you get to a menu which gives you some pretty limited but helpful tailoring options. So for example, when you go onto the T-box, the watch will automatically give you like a flyover view of the hull. For me, that was just quite frustrating because I was just really wanting to get to the hazards view or the front, middle or back. So I turned that feature off from the setting. While we're here, if you could smash the like button if you're finding this video helpful, I would really appreciate it. I did find the watch nice and easy to use. It didn't take me too long at all to get familiar with how it works. It's pretty simple, swiping left and right, and then you can also use the single button on the side to go back to the previous screen. The actual quality of the watch itself feels a little bit plasticky to me, and it is quite lightweight. They have removed the ceramic bezel which they had on the W11, and now you've just got this plastic bezel on the front of this one. I didn't have any problems reading what was on the display here in the UK's bright summer sun, aka moderate drizzle, but the watch is quite bulky as well with that plastic casing. So for someone like me who's got pretty skinny wrists, I still feel that it's a little bit too big and bulky for me. But if you've got bigger wrists, then you're probably not gonna have much of a problem with it. It is nice that it does come with 2 watch straps out of the box as well, so you get a choice of how you want this watch to be styled, and it's quick and easy to change those with the quick release mechanism. We've got a few minutes left on the waterproof test. How you getting on in there, buddy? Golfbuddy? Getting a little bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie. In terms of the accuracy of the watch, I actually didn't really have any complaints. I've used it in a few different rounds comparing it to my friend's Garmin S62, which is a pretty premium GPS golf watch, and this was around 1 or 2 yards different every time, which, to be honest, I don't have any problem with. I think that's well within the tolerances of being acceptable. You do need to make sure that you keep updating your courses because the yardages can change and they can remap them to improve them. Something that I'm not so keen on with the watch was the battery life. I charged the watch to 100%. I wore it for an hour or so before I started my round. I played 18 holes with it, and then I wore it for an hour or so afterwards, and the battery life was down to 39%. So for me, definitely not enough battery life to get 2 rounds of golf from a single charge. Now, I had the gesture mode turned on when I used this watch, which means that when you're not looking at the watch and you've got it pointed down, the screen isn't actually on, but I do have the brightness turned up to the max. So there is a chance that you probably could get 2 rounds of golf out of this watch if you turn that brightness down significantly. But for me, when you've got a color touchscreen display, I like it to be as bright as possible. I did notice a couple of other things when I was using the watch that I just want to highlight. Now, these aren't things that I would call a deal breaker, but they're just kind of minor inconveniences. The first one is on the list of all the hazards on the hole. For some reason, it starts you off at the top with the hazards that are the furthest away, and then you have to scroll to get to the hazards that are closer to you. Now for me, it just meant that I was always scrolling on the tee box, or pretty much any time I used that screen, to get to the hazards that were closest to me. Generally, they're the ones that I cared about first. It would make more sense to me if that was reversed. I also wish that the green front, middle, or back screen was the main screen of the watch, and then I had to swipe to get to the map. I don't always just want to look at the map view. I want to know the front, middle, and back of the green. That's the first thing I want to know as soon as I step onto a tee box, regardless of whether it's a par 3, 4, or 5. Let me know down in the comments, is that just me, or do you feel the same way about these? Oh, there we go. That's the alarm to get this wash out. So let's see how it's done. Drum roll, please. Let's pull this watch out here. Now it says that it's IPX7, which means that it should be able to withstand a metre of water for 30 minutes. I've had it in a glass for 25 minutes, and well, it's still on. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. The watch is still working. So oh, mind you, what's it doing there? Is it changing around? That's probably just because it's got some water on it. Let's just rub it on my shorts there and have a little look. Okay, let's have a little look. So the watch does appear still to be working. The touchscreen is wet, I can confirm that, and it's still working, not a problem. If we press the button, see if the tap's still working. Yeah, there we go. Certainly in terms of the rain and stuff like that, if you're playing in heavy weather, you haven't really got any worries. So fair play, Golf Buddy. I weren't sure how that test was going to pan out. You've passed. I've now got a very wet watch. The watch comes with a pedometer, so it tells you how many steps you've taken in the day, and it also comes with a rudimental calorie counter. This is not a smartwatch in any way, shape or form. This is pretty much only a golf watch. You're not getting any notifications from your phone onto the watch, and you can't do anything else with it really at all. You've got a few different options in terms of the watch faces. If you just hold it down there and then you can scroll across, you've got a few different watch faces to choose from. None of them really are anything that I massively want to wear off of the golf course. If you don't mind the fact that you can't get your scorecards or update the watch without connecting it to a laptop or a PC, then I can see that this has got some features that are going to be attractive to some people. But if it was my money, personally, I think I'd either go for the Garmin S42, which although is a much more basic watch in terms of not having the whole layout or the green heat mapping, it does have better connectivity to the phone app. Or for less money, I'd be going for the Bushnell Iron Elite, which retails for around £200, and in my opinion, is the best golf watch that you can buy in that price range. Or if you've actually got a little bit more money in the budget to spend, then I'd look at getting a Garmin S62. Whether that's actually buying one second-hand, given that now the S70 is out, there's a lot of S62s on the second-hand market, but there's also going to be some good discounted deals on that watch, given that retailers are going to be trying to shift their stock, and you are getting a lot more watch for your money, but it is going to cost you probably around £100 to £200 more. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button. As I mentioned, I've got my affiliate links down in the description below if you decide that this is the watch for you. And if you're still not sure which watch you should buy, then why not check out one of these videos here, either my comparison of the top 7 budget golf watches for under £200, or my review of the Garmin Approach S62.